clearly it's subpar on all parameters compared to your poll. Let's do one thing. Do we have Mayuresh with us?
Yeah.
Mayuresh, your first thoughts on HCL Tech?
Morning, Lata. Yes, I think the numbers look disappointing in terms of how the dollar revenue and the constant currency revenue has panned out, but they're a bit largely in line with what we were estimating at 20.7 odd %. The profitability has come bang in line. Now, I think the management commentary is going to be extremely key in terms of the decision making that the company is saying from its clients, what kind of pricing trends and what kind of volume estimates that the company is trying to build in. As Rima was pointing out, I think for CY16, they had indicated a band of 21-22 odd % on the EBIT front. Whether they are able to maintain that is also going to be an interesting aspect. But clearly, yes, on the top line in terms of constant currency and rupee terms, I think it has disappointed.
All right, Mayuresh, thanks for that. Yes, and we've seen some of the disappointment play out in the chart, in the stock as well. If you pull up a 12-month chart of HCL Tech, you'll notice that from the highs of 1,000 rupees, HCL Tech has drifted all the way down to 830 rupees. And today, on the back of another weak set of numbers, you could expect the stock to open lower. We will also focus on the global markets because there is quite a bit of pressure that's seeping into some of those markets after the Bank of Japan meeting outcome. We will concentrate on that on the other side of the break. Stay tuned.
Markets now, because clearly the BOJ policy has not gone well. Anuj, this is going to be overshadowing everything else?
Yeah, just focus on what's happening with the global markets right now. More importantly, Nikkei futures. The Nikkei futures are down 800 points. Now, I tell you something, I just called up a couple of people. The reason you're seeing Nikkei still up 240 points is because there's a lunch break going on right now for the Nikkei spot. And that's why the Nikkei is not indicating the kind of decline that's likely to open. It's going to get ugly once the lunch break is over. All of a sudden, you will see a 400-500 points drop in the Nikkei. And that is why
the Dow futures perhaps are
exactly. That's why all of a sudden SGX Nifty, which Lata was trading at 80.30 at the beginning, is now down to 79.70. And same is the case with the Dow futures. All of a sudden it's taken a 120-point intraday tumble. So that's the reason. The Nikkei is stuck at 243 points because it's in the lunch break. There's a break that happens in between, and that's why that index is not indicating that. Let's try to pull out, if we can, somehow get the Nikkei futures data, because that's more indicative of what's taking place right now.
Okay, well actually Ashwini did point out immediately as the BOJ announcement came that the Dow futures are stand 0.7%. When he was speaking, it was even worse. So clearly we are going to have a bad start because of what's happening in the Asian markets.
Also, I think we should pull up the dollar yen, because that as well has fallen about 2% is now trading at 109.14 compared to about 111 rates that we did trade at just before the decision. Let's get Jeff Lewis of Manulife Asset Management to discuss this with us. Jeff, morning. The Nikkei futures have tumbled almost 5% now after the Bank of Japan kept the policy steady but indicated that the growth forecasts have been slashed down for next year for Japan. How would you read into that?
Well, I think this is disappointing to markets because the general assumption was that the Bank of Japan would need to do something, that it would come out with some further instrument from its armory, that it would buy ETFs or something or other, and clearly there has been a disappointment. There was a disappointment much earlier in the year when the markets didn't really accept the idea of negative interest rates as being a particularly good idea. And so I think the Bank of Japan now it's realizing perhaps that there are not so many bullets left in the gun. And this is a stage, I think, which we're going to see increasingly in 2016, that central banks alone, they shouldn't, as Mohammed Ali says, be the only game in town. You can't just leave it to monetary policy to get us out of this low growth mode. We need to see some more coordinated policy action, and that is what we failed to get at G20, either in Washington or in earlier the Shanghai meeting. Policymakers are still going their own way.
Jeff, you know, we are probably not getting that impact on the Nikkei just yet because of the lunch break on the Nikkei index. But do you think we are going to see some big selling? Okay, now the Hang Seng has also moved into the red. Other indices have begun to move. Are we going to see some very big emerging market cuts because of the way in which the BOJ statements has been received? We can see that the dollar yen is clearly 2% lower. It's now gone to 109. The yen has strengthened considerably by 2%.
Well, yes, everything seems to be going the wrong way for Japan right now, particularly the currency and the stock market, and the buying that we've seen. You know, the BOJ is now a major shareholder in a large number of companies via its ETF purchases. That really had no noticeable effect, whilst most markets in local currency terms since the end of January over the last 3 months are up about 10%, the emerging markets up 13%. In local currencies, TOPIX is down 1%. So there's not a lot seems to be going right for Japan just now. By recognizing that the economic outlook has deteriorated, I think the BOJ was just coming into line with private sector forecasters. Yeah, I think what there might be a knee-jerk reaction on other markets, it won't generalize.
Okay, yeah, that's what I was coming to. Do you expect that because the dollar has weakened, the impact on other emerging markets will be limited?
I think it will be limited. You might see some knee-jerk reaction, but I think Japan's economic problems are in a class of their own. Japan hasn't contributed anything much to global growth over the last couple of years. So from that point of view, I think the implications for other emerging markets are very, very limited indeed. Much more important for them are the signs that growth is picking up a little bit in China, or at least China's managed to stabilize its economic growth rate around 6.75%.
Yes, in fact, we've generally seen China have a bigger impact on the Indian markets than Japan. So investors sitting in India should not be too worried about the data that we're seeing on the screen, right? The red on the Japanese markets?
I think that is correct. If there is a dip, then I would see that as a buy-in opportunity. We're seeing the foreign funds coming back to India. Last number I have, early April, buying is 1.3 billion US positive year to date, with particularly large inflow over 3 billion in March. Smaller inflows in April, but nevertheless, foreign investors clearly are still looking to India as being one of the favored destinations for emerging market equities in the second quarter.
All right, Jeff, we'll leave it at that. Thank you very much for joining us with your first thoughts. So that's the Nikkei futures, which are down 550 points. But I think it's important that the SGX Nifty has slipped 65 points from the day's high. It's not a very riotous fall, but definitely it will be negative overall for the markets. We must note that that's the pre-opening rates. They are still not quite reflecting what's happening in the SGX Nifty or what the dollar yen is telling us. It looks like it will be a limited negative impact. It will be negative nevertheless, but it's not going to be as bad as what the Nikkei will cry out when it finishes its lunch break and starts reflecting what the Nikkei futures are reflecting. It's negative, but not terribly negative, seems to be the verdict.
Oh yes, and in general, I mean, whenever these situations have arisen in the past from Japan, they haven't had too much of an impact. At best, maybe a knee-jerk reaction, and then the market has sort of settled.
Now the Nikkei is down. I think they've started trading. It's down about 0.6 or thereabouts. So the Nikkei as well is reacting. Maybe we could go to CNBC Asia for a minute and check out how they are reading the BOJ and the Asian fall.
In the next 1 or 2 months, I get a clear indication.
So what I'm hearing you say is the message might be let the negative interest rate policy move back at the end of January. Just filter through, give it some time. Sort of what Mario Draghi has been telling, from the ECB has been telling a lot of his critics, such as Germany, which is, just give us time because this policy is working.
Right, so exactly. Draghi has been talking about patience and be patient with the policy. Okay, I mean, look, patience has a limited length.
Okay, well, they are discussing other issues as well, Draghi. But for the moment, the Asian indices have started falling. Nikkei is down 1.2%, and now Kospi is down 0.8, Topix 0.8 down, Hang Seng is down just 0.1. So the Asian markets are falling in sync with the Japanese markets. The short break, the lunch break, probably took everyone by surprise that the Nikkei didn't move. Now it's down 400 points, as you can see, and we are beginning to see reactions in other markets as well. So HCL Tech kind of gets overshadowed at this point in time, but nevertheless that is also a weak set of numbers. So the pre-opening rates are indicating a 2% downtick for HCL Tech.
Oh yes, we need to take cognizance of the way the Asian markets are falling. While we do that, let's take a look at some of the stocks that are reacting to certain news as well. Bharti is one of the biggest gainers on the index in pre-opening on the back of a good set of numbers that the company has reported this time. So Bharti is up 3%, and on the downside, HCL Tech is the biggest loser on the back of a disappointing set of numbers. In the broader markets, you have Exide that's up 10% in pre-opening. Okay, so that's quite excited on the back of a good set of numbers, and a couple of others on the back of news-based stories like Monet Ispat are up almost about 20-odd%. But let's go back to our guests. Ashwini, if we do see a dip in the early morning trade, courtesy the global markets and the mayhem there, what would you do? And do you expect that dip to get exaggerated through the course of the day because of the news flow?
See, frankly, I'm expecting a top. Okay. Now, intraday, yes, you can buy the dip and maybe trade an intraday rally on the upside. But I take macro events very, very seriously, particularly at the fag end of a rally. If you have this sort of macro event that can, break the rally, that can turn trend for a bit. So chances are this could be a beginning of a correction also. But the first dip to about 79.50, chances are that may get bought. But I am more interested in getting a multi-day style correction, and if you didn't get out, if you're still hanging on to big long positions, trimming them down may be a good idea.
So take profit for the day would definitely be a call. Any specific call on specific stocks where you would expect take profit, or is it just across the board?
See, anything that's run up from 7,500, particularly banks, private banks which have run up very strongly, metal stocks which have run up fairly strongly, all those could come under severe profit booking, because if the entire globe comes under pressure, there's no way we are going to head upwards. Intraday rallies aside, I think below 79.50 you could probably call this rally over.
Okay. Well, Manisha, who is our commodities and currency editor, sends us a very important alert that today is the start of an extended period of Japanese national holidays known as the Golden Week. So for the entire week, April 29th up until the 5th of May, May 3rd to 5th, the markets will be shut. So perhaps you can expect a lot of volatility in the Japanese markets today itself ahead of the week-long holiday. The Hong Kong market is flat, but it's the Japanese market that's really taking a hit now on the back of the Bank of Japan policy announcements. Let's get Manoj Muralidharan as well into our conversation, because F&O expiry is going to be on top of everyone's mind. It's been a very good series, Manoj. What is the strategy for today?
Good morning, Sonia. Sonia is right. April has been a good month in terms of the net gains both in the Nifty and Bank Nifty. But if you're looking at the rollovers, I guess the rollovers in the Nifty futures were almost done on Tuesday and Wednesday itself, when the Nifty rallied a good 110 odd points. It's the Bank Nifty that is shying away from the rollovers. If you see, it's just 47 odd %. So I'm expecting a lot of long unwinding to the position that is happening. Right from the time, if you remember the day of the budget where the Bank Nifty bottomed out, until till yesterday, let's say the Bank Nifty has rallied a good 1,800 odd point, and there would be certainly long unwinding that would happen in the last 1 hour of trade, which is more or less qualified as the volume weighted average price. So the trend or the levels that we're looking at is 7980 to 8000 should be the top for the Nifty for today's trade. You can short Nifty at that level, keep a stop loss of let's say 8030, and we're expecting the Nifty to come down to maybe at 7930 to 7940. The expiry, however, might be closer to 7950 plus or minus 10 points. The Bank Nifty Nifty, as I said, would be topping up. So there are a couple of stocks like an ICICI and SBI, where there is, especially SBI, where there is a lot of open interest which is yet to be rolled. We would see some selling in the last half or 1 hour of the trade. So a trade would be to sell SBI, let's say close to 198 or 200, and keep a stop loss of 207. A target of 186 is what we expected in that.
Okay. Well, let me get back to Ashwini on the global market performance. The Hang Seng, after dipping into the red, is back a bit into the green. The Dow futures, Ashwini, as you pointed out, fell to 0.7 down. Now they are 0.6 down. Would you say that the damage to Indian markets would be limited? Would you short? And if you short, what were the levels you would look at?
See, basically, it all depends on whether there is follow through to this sort of news. If there is no follow through, then it may turn out to be a dip. But given that we are sitting on a large rally, the odds of our getting into a corrective zone are probably a bit higher. But basically, if we start sustaining below, say, 79.50, then you would think that some sort of, double top around 79,88,000 has been created. So it's very important that this dip gets bought, before 79.50, and the market takes out, this 79,88,000 zone again on the upside.
Okay, just to spot a couple of more stocks that are reacting to their numbers. We've had a good set of numbers in the last 12 to 24 hours. Kansai Nerolac was one of them. That stock is up 3.5%. The gross margins for the company have expanded more than 700 basis points and double-digit revenue growth as well. You can see that stock moving up higher. KPIT Technologies was good. The margins were up 120 basis points quarter on quarter. If Mayuresh Joshi is still with us, Mayuresh, from the list of good mid-cap earnings that we had, anything that caught your eye that one can buy now?
So again, Sonia, I think Kansai has posted a reasonable set of numbers, and it's all going to be how the volumes are going to pan out now for the paint industry in general. So again, if one really assumes good monsoons expected to come through, the repainting demand coming back in semi-urban, rural areas, tier 3, tier 4 cities as well, I think these paint companies are going to see the implied benefit of volume growth having a positive impact in how the numbers pan out. Within the mid-cap IT pack, I think KPIT did post a good set of numbers. On Mindtree is something that I'll still be very, very positive about. I think investors holding on should continue holding on to Mindtree.
Okay, thanks for that, Mayuresh. Manoj, any specific stock you would play besides your short call on the Nifty?
Yeah, Lata, we like 3 stocks. The top is Dabur. It's a stock where we have seen good volume weighted average price buying is happening in the last 3 days, and we still recommend buying that at 273, a stop loss of 268, and we're expecting a target of close to 281 to 283 on that. Pidilite is an excellent stock. We feel the cash buying which has happened, it has happened in a very neat pattern over the last 5 to 7 odd session. That should be bought in the cash market, or for the May futures you can buy that. 607 is where we recommend buying that. 597 as a stop loss, and we are expecting a target close to 622 to 623. The third pick would be Tata Communication, which is a buy as well. We have seen huge cash buying along with a good VWAP long roll which is happening in the stock. So 419 is where we reckon buying that. 415 is a stop loss, and a target close to 426 to 428 is what we are expecting.
Okay, I just want to point out that the strength that we've seen in the yen in the last 15-20 minutes could come back to haunt Maruti quite a bit. So that stock is under pressure, now down about 1%. Just get the dollar yen back up for you on the screen. It's gone to about 109.1 now. Yes, it was about 109.7, now back at 109.1. Not boding too well for a stock like Maruti in pre-opening. That one is down about 1% or so. But Mayuresh, you told us about your view on HCL Tech, which is the biggest loser now post a weak set of numbers. But on the flip side, what about Bharti? Good numbers this time. Would you buy the stock, or would you wait to see a couple of more quarters of stability?
We need to look at stability again, Sonia, and if you look at the numbers, yes, a decent set of numbers that have come through, both in terms of how ARPUs have panned out, in terms of how the EBITDA margins have panned out. But clearly, I think if you look at the trend, the telecom companies themselves are not too aggressive in terms of how their voice pricing is happening, and that is clearly reflected on how their voice ARPMs are panning out. Even on the data front, if you look at the data realizations per megabyte over the past few quarters and years, that has been showing a declining trend, more or less offset unaffected by the kind of data volume growth that we are expected to see. But the launch of Reliance Jio over the next few months is going to cause some amount of jitters in terms of how pricing will pan out. But Bharti's got that amount of leeway with the delay in launch from Reliance Jio to shore up its bandwidth, to shore up its spectrum. But again, the kind of debt levels that have gone up on Bharti's books, the kind of leverage that one really expects in terms of cash flows to come through, I think that constraint will still be there on the balance sheet. So again, till stability comes through, at least for a quarter, I think it does not make sense to aggressively be buying Bharti at this point of time. It will very well react to its numbers in a very, very positive manner, but I'll still wait for one more quarter's numbers to come through and declines onto the stock.
Okay. Stay on, Mayuresh. Ashwini, just a minute for the markets to open. What would be your big call for the morning?
See, Surya Lakshmi, that can be bought with a stop around 135, target of 152. As long as broadly we hold on to 7900, 7950, you should expect some amount of bounce from those levels. But if that bounce cannot get past 7980, then I think the market will get into a broader profit booking mode.
Okay, we'll watch out for that for sure. Is any specific trade on Bharti or on HCL Tech from you?
See, Bharti's already rallied, so I don't think great upside on good results will be there. HCL Tech meanwhile has been weak, so chances are that could be a decent short trade.
So Darshan, a quick comment on Maruti. Would you expect to see some more pressure because of the way the yen is strengthening now?
That's possible, but eventually a decline is a buying opportunity in Maruti. See, these knee-jerk reactions will come, it's a market. But once the decline stops, I would be a buyer.
And in Bharti?
Bharti is a long-term buy opportunity. It's already rallied a lot. You buy when there is a dip or a consolidation, not today.
Okay, fair point. Finally, I wanted to ask you HCL Technologies as well.
Well, HCL Tech is the least preferred of the IT stocks, so there's nothing I would do that. I wouldn't buy it at all.
All right. Fine. Anyway, the numbers today are also telling you the same story. It's got a 4% cut now in pre-opening rates. We're just a few seconds away. Let's see whether the Indian markets, when they open, react badly to the way in which the Nikkei has fallen. The other Asian markets, for instance, Hang Seng has clambered back into the green. There goes the bell. It's about 0.2 down on the Nifty and 0.23 as I speak. So it's 19 points down, 18 points down. It seems to be stabilizing at 7960. Let's just read out the important numbers and see whether the index is able to hold on to 796063 at this point in time, which seems to be the case in the first minute of trading. Bharti Airtel opens with a 2.5% uptick and HCL Technologies with a 3.8% downtick. Maruti as well is responding to the yen signals and it's down 2%. So they are the top two losers. HCL Tech down about 3.5, 3.4 as I speak. Maruti down. Okay, the losses are declining in Maruti. 1.6 down, 1.5 down as I speak. So it's not 2% anymore. Along with Bharti, Idea Cellular is also shining in borrowed feathers as it were. It's up about 0.8. Their numbers are due later today. Yes Bank is shining and I think Yes Bank is going to see some re-rating. It trades at half the valuations that HDFC Bank trades, but after 2 quarters of AQR, asset quality review by the Reserve Bank, if the bank is still showing 0.7 in terms of a bad loan, then that stock is definitely going to see some re-rating. Now up 1%, Idea Cellular 1% up, Tata Motors DVR 0.6 up, Ultratech Cement continuing to get rewarded 0.5% up, Tech Mahindra 0.5%, Tata Steel 0.5%, Z 1/3%, Sun Pharma 0.4. Okay, net the Nifty has at the moment found its feet at 7960. Sonia, I'll just ask you to hold for half a minute and go over to Anuj. Anuj, the market has taken the Asian scene in its stride. It's not all hell breaking loose.
Oh yes, clearly. But if it wasn't for the BOJ move and all, you would have easily seen 8,000 being broken and the market going to 80-20. What this move has done is it's given those who had written 8,000 calls an opportunity to, you know, be safe, exit if they want to. Let's see how the second half pans out. I think a lot will depend on how the Asian markets react now for the rest of the day. Does the buy on dip play out because of what the BOJ has done or not done? Does that play out? Or is this, you know, the first sign of market reversing? That's something that we'll find out over the next 1 hour. So it's going to be extremely volatile today. It's expiry day and you have seen the kind of global markets. It's really going to be, you know, only a day trading opportunity only for really,
Professional
strong-hearted traders and professional traders, not for novices.
Also, I guess, Anuj, in the past we've seen these Bank of Japan announcements have not had any kind of impact on India. Yes, China has had, but just historically we've seen that Bank of Japan has had no impact on the Indian market.
Yes, but only for couple of stocks, of course, get impacted.
Maruti, etc.
The issue would be carry trades. We've just got to keep an eye on the rupee move. I think over the next few days, that I think would be the biggest story. As I said in the morning as well, as you approach the month of May, you just want to step back, enjoy some of your profit and see how things go, and then take a fresh call. That's the limited point I'm trying to make.
Yeah, okay, so there's the dollar rupee. It's the dollar is just about marginally stronger, so it's actually flat as far as I think the rupee is telling you that the Indian markets can be a little less ruffled by the goings on in Asian markets.
Just a quick word on the mid caps. It's flat but with a bit of a positive bias, so the market breadth is strong in favor of the advances, so that's a good thing. The stocks that are reacting to numbers, KPIT Technologies, good set of numbers, margins have improved 120 basis points quarter on quarter. Consign Aerolag, good set of numbers, gross margin expansion there. Exide, after 3 quarters of a slowdown in revenues, finally they've reported a growth, so Exide is up in the green as well, but not by a whole lot. Exide's numbers are generally very volatile, so the street would want to see a couple of more quarters of sustainable performance before taking a big buy call. A couple of other numbers that are in focus: Gati, Inox Leisure, EPC Industries were all good set of numbers, so I expect all 3 stocks to be in the green. Gati up 3%, EPC Industries as well up in the green. Puravankara has exited some of its investments in Raidurg for 403 crores, so Puravankara is also trading in the green. By the way, EPC Industries is up 10%. Remember, that's a M&M group company, Mahindra group company, so that stock has been in the radar of a lot of influential investors, and good set of numbers is what the company has reported. On the downside, CEAT is under pressure on the back of another lackluster quarter that the company
Not a whole lot. It's restricted to about 0.2%. So probably because the higher rubber prices were always expected to reflect in the margin. So you'll have to say that the market has negotiated a difficult morning from the Asian markets with some strength. It's probably only going to last for the day if, as Ashwini has been pointing out, if 7980 is not taken out, then it would be a top for the moment, and maybe people will have to take off profit. But the important point is it has not gone to 7950. At 7960 it found buyers, and now lingering around at 7975. We could still be speaking too early, but you will have to say that the early morning dip has been bought. Ashwini?
See, the Bank Nifty has come back strongly today, and that was the anticipation. So out there probably fresh buying can be done, but today's low has now given you a decent stop. So as long as that stop holds on, I think you can still take long positions.
What's your view on Maruti now, Ashwini? The yen is surging after the Bank of Japan maintained its record stimulus. Would there be a fresh shorting opportunity in Maruti?
See, basically Maruti's trend is up, it's bottomed out. Now within that you are having this disturbance. I think it would create a correction which may lead to a buying opportunity, but on this sort of a day, you can avoid the yen plays and see how they play out, but Maruti on dips is a buy.
Okay, Sudarshan, general comments on the Nifty as well as any specific stock on your radar?
Well, the general comments are that what was supposed to be a very big panic hasn't actually turned out to be that. While I don't actually really look at the background of news, the fact is we are long at 7980 with a stop at 7900. That's good enough.
Oh yes, in fact, if anything, this has been used as a buying opportunity by the market. Now we are seeing buying at lower levels, and Sensex, Nifty, mid caps all in the green. And look at the Bank Nifty, 0.6% higher now. So banks are picking up with a lot of pace, especially some of these beaten down names like Axis and ICICI Bank.
And Axis will be important to watch because as yesterday we expected some kind of buying to emerge in Axis Bank at some point. That actually never happened. But maybe
it's happening a day too late. Would you say that, Ashwini, the manner in which Axis, you spoke about the Bank Nifty generally, and you were saying that at 460 you would be a buyer in Axis. What's the call now at 471?
Say, these sort of panic lows need to be bought when the trend is up. Similarly, today's panic low should be bought once the market is clearing key resistances. So on Axis, even ICICI, even if the results are bad tomorrow, the chances are buying will come back at lower levels, because most of it is in the price and the stock seems to have bottomed out.
Okay. Well, gentlemen, thank you very much for taking us through what may have been a difficult morning, but has turned out to be otherwise, and giving us the levels that we should cling on to. We will come back to you for advice later on in the day. For the moment, let's invite a global and an India expert, actually, Sunil Garg.